introduce just a seminal book about a legendary Aspen figure. And as a matter of fact, in the audience tonight is a man who owns, I think, probably more of Tom's work than anybody probably, and that's Bruce Carlson. Dr. Bruce Carlson is with us tonight, and he's been very instrumental in helping to support Daniel on his promotion of the book and the book generally. But Tom Benton was one of the most intelligent and charismatic people that I met during the whole time that I've lived in Aspen. And he was a political artist. You cannot disassociate his politics from his creative side. And he did posters for an amazing range of national figures. Not all of them did so well in politics. Now, whether it had anything to do with Tom's posters or not, I don't know. For example, McGovern was one of his first national posters. And then the campaign manager for McGovern's campaign, you all remember, was a local Coloradan by the name of Gary Hart. He did a poster for Gary Hart. He didn't charge him anything for it, but he said, if you win the election, I want to have dinner in the White House with 12 of my best friends and you. And that was the payment, which meant payment on demand if he succeeded in winning the presidency. And Gary had a little trouble with his campaign that year.
Risky business.
That was some risky business. Actually, monkey business, I think, was the name of the boat. He also did a poster for Willie Brown, one of the most charismatic mayors ever in the history of America, actually. Mayor of San Francisco for a number of terms, and also the Speaker of the House in California. And he was one of the most dominant forces in California politics. That worked out pretty well, I think, on that. Then, of course, he did them for various candidates here in town over time. For candidates in the early days, Ned Baer was a very, very important political figure here in the late 60s, and he ran for county commissioner, and that was one of his first posters. And before he did the political posters, what's really interesting is, if you haven't followed this, he did promotional posters for the Aspen Skiing Company, for the Music Festival, for the Aspen Institute, before he really changed his emphasis to the kind of political emphasis that really held sway. And in here there's one wonderful poster that was affiliated with one of his most famous political antics, is he blocked the Secretary of Defense's driveway out in Snowmass. What was the Secretary of Defense at that time?
Robert McNamara.
Robert McNamara.
With his poster right here.
And it's this poster right here that came out. And what Tom did with a few other monkey wrench colleagues is he blocked the driveway from his house in Snowmass so he couldn't get back to Washington to make any bad decisions anymore about Vietnam. And McNamara, and he had about 3 or 4 colleagues with him that day. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that were with him that day. That was before I had arrived in town. That was around 1970. And then he had a whole series of wonderful posters that were, if you elect this president, then at the bottom the following things are going to happen, which were so catastrophic it was not even, funny. And those were really pointed at a president who had to leave the White House, which was President Nixon. So these were not posters that were campaign posters. They were sort of anti-Nixon posters. And then his longest affiliation was probably with the Gonzo thing, and he really invented that whole Gonzo fist, which those of you who might have been present for Dr. Hunter Thompson's blast-off, which were shot out of the top of a statue of the Gonzo fist on Hunter's property. Tom was very instrumental, and Tom was, let's see, he had not died then, so he was present, I think, at that funeral. But at any rate, Daniel is a graduate of Baker College, and he grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where the University of Kansas is. So that's the one town in Kansas that's got some things going on there, some intellectual things that are going on, and probably more so than any other part of Kansas.
It's a blue dot.
And then he went off and did more mundane, practical things, but he's been involved with art and has had an interest in art, and he understands the very intricate processes of this seriography. that Benton almost single-handedly created this method of silk screening. And I think Daniel might have the opportunity to tell us a little bit more about this. Also, it's wonderful to have someone of Daniel's generation to compile a book about this legendary figure of old Aspen. And so it's nice to see some old-time Aspenites who are here tonight to join in for this. And with no further ado, I will introduce Dr. Watkins. It's a pleasure to have you here, and welcome. Let's give him a good round of applause. Tell us a few things about the whole process of doing the book, the press, George Stranahan's involvement. Talk a little bit about the seriography, and then we'll open it up for questions when you're done, okay?
Okay, great.